Okay everyone, so in this next lesson, let's go and try to go and talk about the form tag. But before that, I noticed that we weren't able to implement the same animation transition here in our sign up button here. You would see it's a little too fast when it's moving, unlike the one that we have here. So let's go and try to go and implement that in our code. If you remember, we went here and we have our translate Y, and here we weren't able to use the transition all 0.2 seconds. So we just need to go and copy this and then refresh it. So let me go back to our browser here and refresh. Now there's a little bit of delay once it's moving up, and now the effect is now applied in our buttons here. Okay, so now that we're done with that, let's go and start talking about the form tag. And before that, I would want to first create a new file that we will be calling signup.html. Okay, so inside of the signup.html, I would want to go and copy some of the styling that we already have in our index.html here. So you would see now the weakness of using embedded style sheets inside of our project, because if we do this, we will need to go and copy paste some of the code from one file to another file, and that's really not good practice. I'm just doing this right now for exercise, and I want to go and show you here the reason why we don't usually do this from where we put our styles inside of an embedded style sheet or inside of the style tag inside of the HTML document. This is the reason why we usually use an external style sheet from where we will just need to use a link for us to be able to apply the same common styling that is available from the home page and to the other pages, and we just need to go and change those styles depending on the need for each of the pages. But for the general design, we can already use this as a template, and we can maximize the use of the stylings that we have already applied in our main page to the other pages that we have created. Another reason why we would want to use an external style sheet instead of an embedded style sheet or an internal style sheet is because if we are planning to build a large website, it will be really difficult for us to copy paste all of the styles here just for us to be able to apply the same styling for each of our pages. So that's the reason, that's just the main reason why we use and prefer external style sheets, because it's a lot easier for us to make some changes by using the link that we use for accessing the styles that we have implemented in our external style sheets. Now, I want to go and link this signup.html to our markup here in the index.html. So instead of using a dead link here, I'm going to use the signup.html. And let's go back to our signup.html here. Where is that? Then let's go and change this to sign up. And I want to remove the margin here. And I also want to go and use the... So for now, just for practice purposes and exercise purposes, I'm doing this. But again, we maximize the use of the external style sheet for this so that we won't need to repeat our universal selector here. So I'm showing you here the reason why we don't usually use embedded style sheet as a best practice. Okay, so I would want to go and decrease the font size here to 16 pixels, and then of course the background color I also want to go and use the F1 EADF here, and you would see that the white background color that we have here will be overwritten or override by the background color that we have here because of the order of declaration. So we know that the last declaration here is the one that will be implemented. So me just let me just go and show you that first before we go and comment that out. Now let's go and refresh this and then try to test our link for the sign up button here. Okay, so we now have the same color for our background color, and the white color is not being implemented. So again, if you remember, that is because of the order of the declaration that we have here. So if I go and put that here and go back to our browser, you would see that the white color is the one that's being implemented. Okay, just take note of that. And by the way, everyone, another key thing that you should be aware of, so far we're not doing it in our previous lessons, but it should be how you declare your properties here inside of the CSS declaration should be in an alphabetical order as much as possible. So there are linters that we can use for that, but I haven't tried it out yet. So for now, just to inform you that it is best practice that we have our properties here in an ordered manner from where we have them in alphabetical order. Okay, so just take note of that. It's also easier for you to look into the properties inside of your code declaration here, style declaration. Now, what I want to do here next would be to go and create or use a div container here. So I'm just going to name it container --1 and then a form element. So don't worry about too much the action here. So we'll talk about that later in our succeeding lessons. But for now, let's go and refresh this and then go back to our browser and then refresh our browser here. And then go to the documentation that we have here, and you would see that we have some examples of what the format or what are the contents of a form element. So we can see here that we have a label element, an input element, a label again, and another two inputs here with different values for their attributes. And you would see here that the action here is assign a value to a PHP page. So, and we have a method here which is get. Now if we try to go and click on try it yourself, you would see here an example of the label and the input type text that has a type attribute with the value of text. And we also have here the label last name, and that's here. We can see that here. And we also have here the input type text, and again that's where we will be placing our last name for this example, and the input type that is a submit button, as we can see here. We can also see here a description that if we click the submit button, the form data will be sent to a page on the server called action page.php. So this PHP is more on the back end from where we will be communicating with a server, and that's what PHP is used for the back end part of the development. So if we go down here, we have the definition and usage, and it says here that the form tag is used to create an HTML form for user input. And the form element can contain one or more of the following form elements. So we'll go and discuss this in succeeding lessons, everyone. So just for now, let's look at the attributes here, and we have the accept char set, which specifies the character encodings that are to be used for the form submissions. We have the action here, which will be specifying where to send the form data when a form is submitted. So we also have here the autocomplete that will be specifying whether a form will have an autocomplete on or off. enc type, which will be specifying how the form data should be encoded when submitting it to the server, only for the method post. We also have here the description of the method attribute that can have two values, which is get or post. And it says here that they will be specifying the HTTP method to use when sending form data. We also have the name attribute that specifies the name of a form. No validate will be specifying the form that should not be validated when submitted. And relation that specifies the relationship between a linked resource and current document. And the target attribute that specifies where to display the response that is received after submitting the form. So let's go and try to go and test this out later in our succeeding lessons. So we'll go and use the attribute action and the method here. Let's go place that inside of our code. And that will be, let's just say rbsldevtechsolutions@gmail.com. And then for the method, I'm going to use the method assign the value of post. Okay, so that will be something that we'll be talking about on how this works in succeeding lessons. So for now, that will be all. So thank you and see you on our next lessons.